We're going to talk boxing now. Oleksandr Usyk's rematch with Daniel Dubois for the undisputed world heavyweight title has been confirmed, taking place Wembley Stadium Saturday, July the 19th. Both fighters were in the studio with White and Jordan earlier on and gave their view on how the fight would pan out.
I can say a million words about it, but I feel it. I'm ready. Everything that's happened to me over this from the last time we fought is a lot of pain, a lot of built-up anger and everything. So I want to just dish it out and, make sure that I come away with all the belts and do it in London. That'll be special, to be the first unified champion in London, England. So that's what I'm about, creating history.
I bring light, I bring happy, I bring win.
You bring fight, you bring happy.
Fight, yeah.
And you
Free
bring
time,
the win.
undisputed from Ukraine, Oleksandr the Cat. Usyk.
Yes, well, not bad, really. Yeah.
There we are from
Not
both
London,
fighters.
Ontario. There.
Yeah, Spencer Oliver has popped in to see us, part of our top team on boxing, former fighter himself, of course. Spencer, we should put a bit of context on that. Dubois was just saying that this second opportunity to put things right after what happened in the first fight, it's probably worth explaining what happened when they fought 2 and a bit years ago.
Yeah, I mean, look, Daniel Dubois went into that fight thinking, I think, that he was fighting the monster of the division and the best heavyweight of our modern generation. And, maybe lack of self-belief going in there. And when he got in there, he soon realised, hold on a minute, I'm doing all right here. I'm not doing bad. And then there was that controversial low blow. Was it low? Was it not low? I didn't think it was low, but Usyk milked it. He took everything he could. He was down for 5 minutes. Daniel Dubois lost the momentum, and the experience of Oleksandr Usyk went on, and he eventually won that fight in that 9th round. But I think that was the moulding of Daniel Dubois as a fighter, where he then thought, hold on a minute, I can compete at this level.
Yeah.
And I was within touching distance of winning that fight. I think that's where we're at. He then had good wins over Jarrell Miller, Filip Hrgovic last September against Anthony Joshua, when he blew Joshua away in 5 rounds. And he's looked at it now and he goes, looking at the most dangerous fight for Oleksandr Usyk, the best of our generation right now, it is Daniel Dubois. He's an improving commodity. You just look at him and you go, this kid is really believing in himself. And that showed that he was on with Simon and Jim earlier. He's speaking to him, and I was speaking to him upstairs, and he goes, he truly believes now that he's improved a lot more since that last fight with Oleksandr Usyk. And Usyk's at that stage, at that age. Yeah, he's 38 years of age now, Andy. And you look at it and you go, he's had 2 tough fights in his last 2 against Tyson Fury. That takes a lot out of you, a lot of wear and tear as well. And Daniel's thinking, this is my time. Every heavyweight has to pass that baton at one point or another. We see the history says that. When you go back in the history of heavyweights, they always get to that stage where the next guy comes along. Is Daniel Dubois that next guy, the new guy of the generation?
He's got nothing to prove, and he certainly doesn't need the money. So you wonder, he could easily have turned around and said, I'm going to walk away from it now at the very top. If he does go out and lose to Dubois, it does affect the legacy a bit. So he must really feel he's still got it.
Absolutely. Speaking to Usyk up there, we've been up there for a couple of hours actually. He's still up in the green room, believe it or not. He's lying down on the settee as we speak, just before he goes on to doing another show. But he's a cool customer. He's a lovely guy, but he fights a lot for his country. He's a man with pride, Ukraine means so much, and with what they're going through right now, he wants to give, the Ukrainian people that hope, and he still does that. And I say that's where his desire comes from. But it's not just about that. It is about legacies and creating history. He's now looking to become undisputed heavyweight champion again. The 4 belts on the line, the 4 belts of this modern era, the IBO title on the line as well, Ring Magazine title on the line as well. And he goes, if he does that, he's the first guy in history to do that. And that's what it's all about. He said, always pushing the boundaries and creating more history. That's where he gets his motivation from. But he's a man of the people as well. And the Ukrainians and what's going on there right now, that matters to him a lot. And he feels that is the importance.
Well, we'll be building up to that July the 19th. A big day of sport, that, but we'll tell you more about that as the days unfold. You were part of our team that brought us Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn. A far better fight, I think, than all of us expected. It was a real war. There's round, trading to the last, the pair of them. It came at a cost for Chris, who's now thankfully been discharged from hospital, seriously dehydrated. I tend to agree with Adam Cattrall and Gareth A. Davis, who said they enjoyed watching this fight, but they don't want to watch it again. But there is a rematch penciled in maybe late September. How do you feel about it?
Listen, from a selfish point of view, of course I'd love to see it again. It was one of the best British fights that I've actually witnessed live, if I'm totally honest. Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, we didn't expect it to turn out the way that it did. They are their father's son. The bloodline runs deep between them two, so we knew there was a lot of ego, a lot of pride, and, you know, all of that on the line. But we did not expect to get what we got. Conor Benn sort of excelled, really, and I think he come out of that with a lot of credibility. You know, going in there, he was booed into the ring because of the controversies that surrounded that first fight and the foul drug test.
They both got booed at the start, though.
Yeah, they did a little bit, but Conor Benn even more so than Chris Eubank's always getting booed, but, you know, he's the pantomime villain, but he was more cheers than he normally did, and Conor Benn obviously getting booed, but I think that everybody recognised, look, it's time to put that to bed now. He's been cleared. That's done. Let's move on. And he put a heroic performance in there against a much bigger guy. And I think that, you know, Eubank got tagged early. You're talking about dehydration. When you're dehydrated like that, you feel those shots. I used to do it myself. It feels like when you're getting hit, someone's hitting you with an iron bar because there's no fluid in and around the brain, the body's... And that's the problem with making weight. And I think it was very well documented that Eubank Jr. was struggling massively with the weight. He got a huge fine for not making the weight. He was a packet of crisps, the weight of a packet of crisps over. Can you believe it? And he got fined $500,000, which is
expensive packet of crisps.
That's a big bag. That's a big bag of Doritos in your corner shop.
Absolutely. Well, the big bag of Doritos, he would have been well under, believe it or not. It was that bad, but that's how tight he was at the weight. But what them two guys left in that ring was a memorable night of boxing. We talk about the fathers back in 1990 when they had that first fight. Well, these kids now, they've created and carved out their own legacy. So would I like to see it again? Of course I would. Can Chris Eubank Jr. make 160 again? What has he got left at 35 years of age? You know, after that fight, you go, that's going to have taken a lot out of him. Conor Benn's got his whole future in front of him because he'll drop back down to 147.
Well, their reputation, Spencer, I both think they've come away from that fight with their reputations enhanced. Maybe a bit more Conor Benn, who you said that was a redemption fight for him after everything that had gone on with the ban.
He was really taunting Eubank in the early part of the fight.
Well, they were talking to each other all the time. The point I want to make is that they could both go off, fight at weights far more comfortable. Some good fights out there. I heard Adam on Breakfast talking about Canelo for Chris. There are some great fights out there for both of them, aren't there? So why not? I mean, why you're not going to capture that moment again. You're never going to have Chris Senior saying, I'm not going to turn up, and then turning up and all the theatre and drama of that. You never capture it. It'll only be about money, really.
Paul, I totally agree with you, mate. I think that Conor Benn is, you know, he does fight at 147. There's big fights out there with Mario Barrios for the WBC title, and he can go and win that. You know, and this is all about then his legacy and doing everything else. And for Chris Eubank Jr., you mentioned Canelo there. There's other big fights up there, even moving up to 168, so they can go their own ways. But the only reason they won't, if they don't, is for the financial reward. Because let's say Conor Benn goes and fights Barrios, and he'll get, what's he going to get, £1 million? Let's say he gets £1 million or whatever, or if has a rematch with Eubank Jr. and gets 10 million quid. Well, that's what I'm saying. That's the temptation. That's where it's at, because people would pay to see that one. But for me,
think about his health.
No, but that's it, right. For me, guys, I'd like to see them now go and cement your legacies now. Like Conor Benn, go and win a world title and go and see how you get on. And Chris Eubank Jr., go and follow that dream of actually becoming a world champion. We've had the big money fights now. He's got like 10 million quid for that last one. Now chase your dream. So I would like to see him go their separate ways, but
money
talks, and also, we had a fantastic fight, one of the best British fights that I've seen in a ring. That I've witnessed. It was insane. And you got to take your hat off to both guys for that.
Absolutely.
I really enjoyed the watch along. I was watching the fight on the telly, and then as soon as it went to the round, turned up the volume on the watch along. It was really interesting. Get that sort of an analysis of the round. I really enjoyed it.
Do you see how much I get sucked in when I'm doing that commentary?
You're up out your chair.
If you see me at the watch along, I'm out my chair. I'm moving around. I'm feeling the punches.
John Rawlings trying to pull you back, isn't he?
Gareth was out of vision, but you could still hear him.
Well, what's new about that?
Thank you, Spencer. Great work at the weekend.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you. The talkSPORT YouTube boxing channel's got all the ongoing coverage, and as we said, we'll build up to Dubois Usyk, their second fight in July here on talkSPORT and talkSPORT 2.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.